Hey guys, here in the studio, and we're gonna tie a nymph this morning. Of course, a nymph is the immature stage of all three of our big players: mayflies, stoneflies, and caddis too, to a degree. We're gonna tie a really popular nymph. Usually, the first nymph that people learn to tie is a hare's ear, and the hare's ear nymph is extremely effective, and it is relatively simple to tie. However, you know, it has quite a few steps to it. But with that being said, the nymph can be a little messy, so you don't have to get too excitable. Your tying kit, I was just going through it, and I was a little disappointed at what it had for material. So you may have to retrofit to the best of your ability. I'm trying to tie with mostly what you have. I might substitute a few things in there, but I'll try to mention what they are so you don't get frustrated. So right now I'm actually sliding a small brass bead onto my nymph hook. Nymph hooks usually have a longer horizontal section to the hook. I don't think you have beads, which is cool. You don't need beads. It just becomes more difficult for you to sink them sometimes. So you'll see I put a little bead on there. I'm going to use olive thread again, the same color that I used before. Could really use just about any color thread I wanted. Get started. I think I'm on like a size 12 maybe right now. So I'm tying a big nymph, at least for Vermont standards, but that's okay. There are big nymphs out there. One thing that I hope is sticking out to you is that lots of flies are kind of based off one basic concept, and I would say that's the case with the hare's ear. A lot of flies are based off the hare's ear. It's never dropped in popularity, and lots of variations of it. So let's see. Let's start with the tail. You have a little bit of squirrel in there. It's actually red fox squirrel. It's the type of squirrel that's down south. And I'm going to use that just to start on the tail. Real easy. Less is more when tying. So I'm just going to take a little wisp of that red fox squirrel tail and hang it off the back. Try to capture it correctly here. There we go. Kind of so it just comes off naturally, horizontally in line with the hook. It's a very short, stumpy tail, so I take off all this excess in the front. It's gone. I'm going to try to tie what's called a guide's choice hare's ear. So it may have a little extra in it. I like the guide's choice. Caught some really nice fish on the guide's choice through the years. Caught some really nice fish on all hare's ears. Guide's choice is a little more challenging, a little more fun. So you can barely see that tail. That's why I like it. It might be a little on the light side, but that's okay. So now I'm just going to throw on some of this tinsel that you have in your box. This will provide me with a rib. It's optional. It's not necessary. Not necessary. So you can skip this if you want. Just gives the fly a little more flash, potentially a little more attractiveness to the fish. If I can catch it here. There we go. Give me a little trouble. That's all right. If you're having a hard time, print it down. You can extend it beyond the eye. That's fine, because we can always just cut it off. I got it for sure. Okay, now I'm going to start with my dubbing. So I noticed your dubbing in your kit is pretty weak. Usually this is called a hare's ear because you literally use just a hare mask or a rabbit mask, which is the skin face of a rabbit. But the only dubbing that it seems they provided is this dubbing. So I'm going to use it. It's actually attractive. It's a synthetic dubbing. It's kind of flashy. We'll just use that for now because that's what you used. Or you're going to use. I'm sure it'll be fine. You twist on that dubbing rope. Really fine little wisps. Ooh. When I twist this on, I really press down. Make sure you have clean hands when you do it. The dubbing doesn't get dirty. So now I'm going to create the thorax, or the main body of the fly. And this is going to come in two different sections. So I'm only going to go about 3/4 of the way up the hook, and then I'm going to stop. Because I have to build quite an elaborate head on this fly, which you'll see in a minute. I try to go for that comical cigar. There we go. Just like there. See, I don't know. Hopefully you can see that. I'll bring that closer for you. Right there. Right. Now I'm going to take that tinsel and spiral it down my nymph. 1, 2, 3, 4 wraps is good. I actually like the way that dubbing looks, to be honest with you. Not as natural, but it's nice. And we're going to trim off that excess tinsel. Fluff out that little tiny tail a little bit. May have used a little light on the tail, but it's got a tail, so I'm cool with that. All right, now I'm going to take a turkey by it. I think you may have some turkey or duck. It'll all work. And I'm going to make the wing casing of the fly out of that just by taking a small section of that. Notice that the barbels, there's little barbs on the fells stick together just like that. It's a pretty small fly, so I'll pull it apart just a little. And then I'm just going to tie that down right at the head of my body. I want to tie it down as flat as possible, as opposed to kind of sideways. And that could be a little tricky, actually. But that's cool. I know I'm going to make this look easy, guys. It's not easy. It's hard. Hundreds of flies I've tied before I really got something that was passable. But meanwhile, you can fish your funny-looking flies. That's fine. Okay, now I'm going to take some more dubbing. Remember, I said that the body kind of has two different parts. And I'm going to build a head. So I'm kind of just going to put a ball of dubbing right behind my bead head. This ball has got to be slightly thicker than the rest of the body. Yeah, that's way too much dubbing. All right, here we go. See how this turns out. Yeah. Nice. I think I'll put a little teeny bit more. I actually like this dubbing. It's a little cumbersome to work with, but I'm sure it catches fish. It's got a nice little flash to it. There we go. All right, now, sure we're doing okay. I'm going to fold over this turkey to kind of put a shell over the top of that nymph. So you're literally folding it back toward the head just to put this case over the top of the head. Now I'm going to tie that down directly behind the bead. Actually looks very nice. So this could actually, this kind of looks a little bit like a stone fly with that pattern. I like it. Little tiny stone. All right, I'm going to clip off the excess turkey here. So you're really not using much of that turkey at all. And for all intent and purpose, my friends, that is a done fly in the kind of hare's ear nymph style. Probably the most complicated fly you would have done to this point. But luckily it's a nymph, so it can be a little funky. But I'm going to throw one more piece into it just because I'm having fun here. Not, at this point I could really ruin my fly. I hope I don't. So it's certainly not a necessity. But I'm going to throw in just a little bit of hackle. That will give my fly kind of a little bit of, like it has legs almost. And last time I checked, they called this the Guide's Choice hare's ear. And I can tell you that I caught one trip I was fishing on the Upper Connecticut, and I just caught some wicked fish on this fly, so I'll always remember it for that. So I'm just going to take, I better show you. Take a piece of hackle. Really can be any color. I'm using kind of a brown. Tie it in, tip first, directly behind the bead. And if you don't have a bead, that's fine. So you're just going behind the eye, potentially. So it's down. I'm getting a little crowded up there, so I'm just going to take a minute and trim all that stuff down to the... Well, see, this is where you got to be careful. Trim it down to the tightest possible. I really got to get some light in here. I have a Dex light somewhere. Okay. All right. So extend my thread a little. And I'm just going to do one hackle wrap around the front of that fly. 2 hackle wraps, done. I don't like the way that hackle's spinning off. I can go this way with it. Risky business here. Really nice looking fly. Hopefully I didn't mess it up. So this gives the illusion of some legs. So I'm on my 3rd hackle wrap, and I have a nice what they call a collar there. Now I'm going to tie that down directly abutting that brass bead. Like so. Now I will cut off the rest of that and get kind of aggressive with my thread. And when I say aggressive, I mean I'm not afraid to put quite a few wraps because weight is not an issue here. And tighten them down, hopefully not breaking my thread. Heck of a fly. Looks really nice, actually. I think I was a little light on the tail. But that'll catch fish any day. show you the top of it. Okay. Great looking fly in the hare's ear style. And I'm going to trim it up, making sure that I don't have too many little spikies showing up that are going across the barb. That's nice. That collar's really hard just because you have so little to work with, but I don't know, I think it adds a little something to the fly. One thing that's fun to do is actually take and put this in the water, like a cup of water, and kind of see what it looks like wet, because obviously this fly is fished wet. So I'll finish it with my whip tie, and we're done, guys. That's a hare's ear. Good luck. Tie a couple of them. Again, you can skip the rib, you can skip the collar, and you can skip the bead, because I'm not quite sure what's all in your box. But everything else, it's all the basic idea. Tail, body, thorax, wind case, right? Head, and you're done. Have fun.